Mr. Speaker.
Order. Questions for oral answer. Mr. Dennis Tan.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister for National Development will also be replying to a PQ on the same issue. May I seek your permission for us to take supplementary questions together after he delivers his reply?
Yes, please.
Speaker, members have filed several PQs on the land clearing activities at the Kranji Close, Kranji Road site. These include PQs filed by MPs Mr. Dennis Tan, Ms. He Ting Ru, Mr. Xie Yao Quan, Mr. Xia Kian Peng, and Mr. Alex Yam for subsequent sittings. I will address all these questions together today. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, may I ask the clerks to distribute the handouts to members?
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, if I may continue. Let me start by explaining the background of the site and development. The former Kereta Api Tanah Melayu or KTM railway line used to run through the Kranji Road, Kranji Close site. When the KTM land was returned to Singapore in 2011, the said site comprised mainly disused scrubland. This is shown in page 3 of the handout. As the site was earmarked for future development works, it was left vacant. More non-native albizia trees then sprouted over the years. In 2015, following URA's review of the plans for the KTM land parcels, the rail corridor was realigned out of the Kranji parcel so that the site could be redeveloped for industrial use. The plan was publicly exhibited and community stakeholders were generally receptive to the proposal. This is shown in page 6 of the handout. The site was later earmarked for the development of the Agri-Food Innovation Park, or AFIP, as part of the larger Sungai Kadut Eco-District development, which will support Singapore's 30 by 30 food security goals. In its development plans for the AFIP, JTC recognized the importance of retaining greenery and therefore proposed to preserve the original alignment of the former KTM railway line within AFIP as a green corridor with additional green buffers on each side. JTC's development plans for AFIP with the green corridor were publicly exhibited in URA's Draft Master Plan 2019 and the SKED Master Plan exhibition in February 2020. I will now go through the development works at the Kranji site. In response to Ms. He Ting Ru's question, page 9 of the handout provides a background on the roles and responsibilities of the various parties involved in a typical development project, including that of AFIP. Besides the contractor, an important party is the consultant, who acts as the qualified person. In particular, the QP or qualified person is responsible for ensuring that the project's design meet the statutory requirements and obtaining approvals from the authorities for the design. Mr. Seah Kian Peng, Mr. Xie Yao Quan, and Mr. Dennis Tan have asked about the sequence of land clearing activities. JTC's chronology has been reported widely in the media, and members may refer to pages 10 to 15 of the handout for the chronology. I will therefore just highlight a few key points. In 2019, JTC appointed CPG as its consultant to carry out planning and design works for the site. An environmental impact assessment, EIA, was not required then, given that the site was previously dominated by shrubland vegetation and later non-native albizia trees, as I had explained earlier. The site is also not close to sensitive nature areas. Thereafter, CPG submitted building plans for AFIP to NParks, including proposals to fell trees. On 29 August 2019, NParks issued a written direction to approve the tree felling for 3 plots within the site, namely Plot 4, 5, and 9, indicated on page 11 of the handout. Following this, tree felling for Plot 9 started in March 2020. In August 2020, CPG submitted updated building plans to NParks, which included a new drain with discharge and flow into Sungai Pengsua. As the drain could potentially cause sediments from the site to flow into Sungai Pengsua and impact wildlife in the vicinity, NParks instructed JTC and CPG to conduct a fauna baseline study and environmental monitoring and management program, or EMMP. The consultant for the fauna study and EMMP was engaged in December 2020. Between end December 2020 and 13 January 2021, the contractor conducted further clearing without approval. These areas are etched in red in page 14 of the handout and amount to a total of 4.5 hectares. There are ongoing investigations on why the contractor did so, since there was no approval. I seek the House's understanding that I cannot say more at this point in time, pending the outcome of these investigations. The further land clearing by the contractor was discovered by JTC's project manager on 13 of January 2021 during his site visit. All clearance works on site were suspended immediately and remain suspended today. Mr. Xie Yao Quan and Ms. He Ting Ru asked how we will ensure such incidents do not recur. JTC has commenced an internal investigation to ascertain what has happened and why. The investigation will be led by JTC senior management who are not involved in the project. It will check if JTC's current processes for land clearance works were followed by both the public officers and private contractors involved. JTC will also review how it can better supervise the various personnel involved in its developmental projects. NParks is separately investigating whether there were breaches to the Parks and Trees Act and the Wildlife Act. We will not comment further on the respective investigations at this point to not prejudice the outcomes. Till today, all clearance works on the Kranji Close, Kranji Road site remain suspended. After the fauna baseline study and the EMMP are completed around April 2021, JTC will engage key stakeholders, including nature interest groups, to discuss its development plans. Findings of the studies will be made publicly available when ready. We can and must do better. As Minister in charge of the Public Service, I have also instructed all agencies involved in land clearance projects to conduct an immediate check to ensure their project supervision and implementation processes are in order. Minister Desmond Lee and I have also asked Permanent Secretary Joseph Leong, who is not involved in this matter, to lead a review of the lessons arising from this development at Kranji. In the course of his review, he will consult representatives from the public, private, and people sectors. The outcomes from the various investigations and review will be shared with the public when ready. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by summarizing the key points. The said piece of land was meant for industrial development. It was scrubland that has become overgrown in recent years. In developing this piece of land to strengthen our food supply chain resilience, JTC and NParks had, on their own accord, proposed retaining the original alignment of the former railway line to preserve its heritage with an additional green corridor that would provide an ecological connection between Sungai Pengsua and Sungai Mandai. The project was carefully planned, incorporating and balancing the considerations of economic development, job creation, and environmental protection. The execution of the land clearing could be improved. This is the subject of ongoing investigations. We should not speculate or prematurely apportion blame without a full understanding of the timeline of events, scope of responsibilities of the various parties involved, and the motivations of various parties or pressures faced that could have contributed to the outcome. We will investigate the pertinent issues thoroughly, share the lessons learned, and improve as a system.